This was yet another Xfinity Series Martinsville cutoff race that did not disappoint. There was a lot of on and off track drama with Richard Childress racing that we have to talk about, so let's get to it. If you missed this race, I highly recommend going back and watching it if you can, but at the end of the day, spoiler warning, Justin Allgaier ended up winning this race, locking himself into the championship four. So your championship contenders heading into Phoenix this coming week are Justin Allgaier, Sam Mayer, who locked himself in with a win at Homestead, John Hunter Nemechek, who locked himself in on points during this Martinsville race, and claiming that final spot on that final lap was Cole Custer, who came home with a junked race car. Now, things could have been totally different. We knew with several laps to go that the point situation between the two RCR teammates was going to be really tight, with Creed having to win the race to get into the playoffs and Austin Hill still having a shot at pointing his way in as the laps dwindled down. But as those laps closed down, those two were racing side by side, so it created a very interesting situation, especially since those two racing side by side, they also happened to be racing side by side with the other drivers that could still point their way in. So all in all, it was shaping up to be a just disastrous situation for Richard Childress Racing, a situation that I'm sure that they did not want to be in. This recap will specifically focus on that overtime finish, what was said before and what was said after those moments, breaking down exactly what happened to get to the crux of all of this drama that transpired post-race. So I'm going to give you the evidence. We're going to break down that last overtime finish, and we'll just kind of go from there. On that restart, Hill drove Creed up the racetrack into turn one, then Creed put the bumper to Hill's car and ran him up the track moments later. Creed then slid in front of Hill, and it looks like he did actually brake check Hill a bit there into turns 3 and 4 on that final lap. And then that two car was able to battle door to door with Justin Allgaier for the win coming to the line. That's when it looks like the number 20 of John Hunter Nemechek got into the back of Hill and spun him. And after these moments that happened literally within under a minute, tensions were very high between Andy Petrie, the VP of competition at RCR, Richard Childress himself, and of course the drivers had some words to exchange. Summarizing Sheldon Creed's post-race interview, he said he wasn't necessarily proud of the way he raced there, but he was racing for a championship 4 spot. He said that he and Hill were racing pretty hard, but he also feels he was pretty fair, and he played pretty fair given the situation that they were in. Right after the race, Andy Petrie came up to Sheldon Creed by his car on pit road and said, "What is wrong with you?" And as he was walking away, very frustrated, Sheldon Creed said, and I quote, "If he," meaning Austin Hill, "had touched me, you guys wouldn't have said shit." So there was that interaction. As for what Austin Hill said, I think it's best if you just listen to what he said. So here is a clip from that broadcast.
I overdrove my entry into 1 because I knew the 20 went to go low, and I didn't know for sure if he was on the inside. My spotter said he had to run, and then he didn't. So it wasn't cool of me to do what I did into 1, like driving him up the racetrack. But I still kind of stayed off of him. Then he just did not give me a chance getting into 3, and then he didn't give me a chance getting into 1, just shoved me up the racetrack. I know he's in a must-win situation, but still, man, just uncalled for that to happen, and then neither of the RCR guys make it to the Final Four. It's just frustrating. Pretty excited for him to go to his next adventure over at Gibbs, and I don't have to put up with him no more. I can have Jesse Love as my teammate. Hopefully he races me better, races me cleaner.
So that's Hill explaining his side of why he raced the way he did on that overtime restart, or at least to start that. But I think the quote and the post-race words that shocked me the most were the ones that came from Richard Childress himself, and this was all found in an article written by Dustin Long for NBC Sports. Childress said, and I quote, "I've had drivers drive for me before, but nobody as stupid as Sheldon Creed. You don't do that as a team player. What else do you want me to tell you?" So that's a lot, and we're going to get into those comments, but I want to talk about the first part of this, which was the actual on-track incidents, because you don't have the comments without what happened on the track. So going at this from Sheldon Creed's standpoint, he did what he had to do to get into the championship 4. Again, I did feel like I did see a brake check in here. I might be wrong, but even that aside, I don't see Sheldon Creed doing anything wrong in this situation. Definitely, because he could have actually just junked his teammate. He could have junked his teammate, spun him out. We've seen this at Martinsville before for a race win between teammates. Sheldon Creed didn't do that. He put the bumper to Austin Hill, as we've seen many drivers do during these races, to get track position and moved him up the track. The brake check, whether that was intentional or not, whether he spun the tires or was to keep his teammate behind him just so he could get the win, I don't know at this time, but I literally, I just don't see what Creed did wrong here. He was going for a win. He knew his objective was to win to get in from the start of this race, and he did everything that he had to do in the most respectful way to get that position and to get that win. So that's, from my standpoint, what was on Creed's side of this whole situation. As for Austin Hill, yet again, we heard why he raced Creed the way he did on that initial restart, and I was kind of thinking he's racing really over aggressive with his teammate here for somebody in a point situation that could still point his way in, especially on those closing laps during that overtime finish. I now understand why he did race that aggressively, because my question yet again was Austin Hill aware of that point situation? If he was aware of the point situation, then maybe things could have played out differently, and thanks to a video from Matt Weaver, we now know that Austin Hill did know the point situation. However, there was a key piece of information that was missing. Hill's spotter shared with him that if he didn't win the race, and if the 2 or the 18 did, Custer would have had to have finished 5 to 6 spots behind Austin Hill in order for Hill to advance into that championship race. What he wasn't told, or what wasn't made clear, was where Custer was lining up on that restart, which lane he was in. And to Austin Hill's credit, if you don't know what lane your opponent is, if you don't know where the car chasing you is for that championship spot, your objective then turns to, well, I need to win this race because that's the only way I guarantee myself into the championship four, because I don't know where the guy I'm chasing in points is going to be on this final restart. I don't know where I need to hold him off from. So there's that side of things, and that's where I can see why Austin Hill did what he did on that final restart, racing his teammate Sheldon Creed pretty aggressively. So I'm not saying if communication was different, if that was made more clear to Austin Hill, things could have been totally different, because this is a sport of millisecond decisions. I'm not saying it could have been different. Maybe it could have, but that is in the past. And with those split-second decisions and all the cars around you, it's really hard to control your situation and what happens. What you can control, though, is what you say and how you say it after the race. And this is where I think things crumbled pretty quickly. From the post-race comments from Austin Hill saying that he wishes Creed well on his next journey at Gibbs and that he doesn't have to deal with Sheldon Creed anymore, to Richard Childress' comment calling his driver stupid, to Andy Petree's comment, it was just a lot. I understand from Austin Hill his comments and why they were made. We see drivers talking crap about each other all the time, given these situations. We've seen similar comments before from others and even sometimes teammates. So that wasn't out of the ordinary for me. What's out of the ordinary is when you have a VP of competition at a team and a team owner talking in this manner about one of their drivers. That baffles me and quite frankly kind of rubbed me the wrong way. So the comments just came off to me as just unprofessional, very disrespectful, especially again for a situation that I did not feel was solely on Sheldon Creed. He was racing for a win. He did what he had to do. Austin Hill, yet again, was under the impression that he had to race for a win in that situation as well. So there wasn't just one person at fault here. I don't see where Sheldon Creed went wrong, but there's another driver on track that he's racing for that win, and that was his teammate. It can't solely be placed on Sheldon Creed, that blame. Overall, though, I think my biggest frustration with how this was handled is it was handled very publicly. I don't think this is a side of the team that you want to show publicly, and I'm sure that nobody planned this to happen. It was just the heat of the moment comments and frustrations, but it's just not a good look. But you can't take back what you said. You can't take back what you did on the track. It's how you move forward from this. So how does the team get back together at Phoenix? Because Sheldon Creed, regardless of the situation, he still has one more race with RCR. So they're going to have to figure out some way to come together as a team. I'm not asking them to be all sunshine and rainbows. I'm not asking them to end things on a good note. I am asking, how can this team come together to get a good result for their fans, their sponsors, etc.? Because at the end of the day, that is the primary goal. It might not be a win, but it is how do we finish the season off strong with a good result that I know that this team deserves. And to win races, to have good results, you have to have communication. You have to work together. You have to be on the same page. And how this team can come together within the week to kind of all just put this behind them, I don't know. And I don't know if that's going to actually happen. This is probably going to be a really awkward final race for that number 2 team in RCR as a whole. So we shall see what the tone of RCR is in the Xfinity Series come Phoenix. But that is it for this recap for the Xfinity Series race at Martinsville, primarily focusing on that final overtime finish and everything that happened at RCR post-race. I'm sure you all have a lot to say about this, so let me know in the comments below. Was there something that I missed? Also, let me know in the comments below there. But for more NASCAR news and up-to-date happenings within the sport, make sure to check out TobyChristieCom. Also, make sure to check out AboveTheYellowLine.com for more about our show and to get your merch. Also, check out our social media handles for up-to-date news. You can find this all on our website, but y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode of Above the Yellow Line, an Xfinity Series show. I want to do more of these, but until next time, I'll see ya. Thanks.